20 pre-seeded drivers given the results of the previous event, and we backfill what was intended to be 12, but again, with a few drivers, and as those scenarios unfold, we will elaborate on what goes down. So a few bye runs here and there, and then with drivers not being absent, we'll elaborate on what is going on. So here is our first battle, seeding brackets, pro round 5. Trenton Beichum will lead that ESR BMW as you saw them stroll their way through the rain. No umbrellas out, sun's out, guns out, or the rain's out, and a little bit of angles out. Here we go. So Trenton Beichum in that first outside zone. Here goes Ben Hobson into the second outside zone. You can see navigating there, just tucking in. Good angle there from Trenton Beichum. Now bringing it very fluid into that third outside zone. Beichum throwing up some steam, and Ben Hobson tucked in nicely. This is good practice because you don't know what kind of conditions we are going to be seeing on game day on Saturday. But there goes Beichum crossing the finish line, and look at that. Ben Hobson brings it across. Good job exercising and going slow through the paces here on our first battle.
Yeah, both drivers, they've got no notes. They've got just what they have from what they saw in the site laps, but nobody else has run this yet. They're not able to go out and look at anything other than what they've experienced just now in that very, very quick site run before that. But both drivers do an amazing job of navigating this in what is incredibly patchy track layout right now. And the Beichum there almost over rotating and having to almost crab walk that car back out to get to our outside zone 3. And really, a patchy track is worse than a wet track, because at least when it's wet, you know exactly what you're running into for every single corner. But when you get into these conditions, some things are gripped up, and then it's going to change as we go as well. So one run might look one way, and even just swapping this around, that may have dried up a small section, and it's completely different again. So good job for both these drivers having to be the first ones out there to show everybody else what the track's really like. Yeah, and to that point, I guess analogously, it's like driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden you hit that puddle, and you hide your plane, and your steering wheel kind of whips out of your hand. So you'd rather have it just be consistent as opposed to, like you say, puddles or hitting something like that. So Ben Hobson will now lead. Trenton Beichum will chase him down, and getting back up, re-racked and ready to track. Hobson will lead, and Beichum will give chase. Now keep in mind, the driver will go against Rudy Hansen in the Great 8. Here goes Ben Hobson out of the gate. His signature pink lights running on through. Now tucking in formation, tip to tail, initiating at the same time. Trenton Beichum, Ben Hobson rolling on into that first outside zone. Let's see this transition here. Nice and fluid as Hobson. Looks like Beichum was already out there before Ben Hobson even got out there. Now Beichum tucking into the pocket, mimicking the angle. Now coming to that third outside zone. Here goes Hobson and Beichum crawling their way through, and again, just you hit one of those puddles, could absolutely throw you for a loop. Now come to this final outside zone. Well done. Performing slow-mo surgery here on that last outside zone goes Ben Hobson, and Beichum brings it across. So a controlled slide all the way across. Again, the miles per hour of the vehicle, the wheel speed probably double than actually if it was dry conditions, but they're just spinning like a slip and slide. Looks like that PVC pipes like a RC car out back. Now they both did a really good job of getting through this run, putting the car in the zone in the best way that they possibly could. So take a look at that initiation. Gets that initiation done really, really early on, but Ben Hobson not able to fill that zone all the way through. And then getting into our second outside zone, there's Ben just trying to get that car all the way out to the zone. The judges really, I mean, they still need the cars to fill the zones completely. That's still part of the criteria. There is some things that are, accepted by the judges. Understand they're not going to be as fast. The fluidity might be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, you still need to fill all these zones no matter what the conditions are on track. So that's going to be first and foremost what the judges are going to be looking for is that lead car filling all the zones? Is the chase car still mirroring that line, that angle, and then keeping proximity to them?
All right, as we await the results from this battle, again, slow-mo slides. We take a look at our BC Racing custom coilover. So it's not slow-mo. This is just the pace and which we're at, full speed. And we are sliding some steam here. So taking a look at it, what stands out to you?
Yeah, first outside zone looked like it might have favored Beichum just a little bit, but he did have that over rotation in his lead there. Now, proximity-wise, they're both pretty good. Going into the third outside zone, Ben was a bit deeper through there, but Beichum doing a great job of mimicking, not just getting the depth in the zone, but mirroring that angle. And outside zone 4, we can see Ben on the left there in the chase gets the line nailed down, but maybe not the same proximity. So tough call here for the judges for sure. You know, there are those 3 criteria that we're looking for, and you got to do your best to try and nail all 3.
Line, angle, style, regardless of the speed.
Yeah, and in the chase, I mean, it is that line, that angle, and that proximity. So you don't want to just give up proximity or give up everything just to gain proximity.
There we go with split decision, and Trenton Beichum 2-2-1. So Reese Marin and Brian Eggert siding with Trenton Beichum. And again, really splitting hairs here. And at this point, it's accumulation of points. Trust that all these drivers that you're going to see here tonight under the lights in the rain are going to be seeing action on Saturday, game day for round 5 of the Pro Championship. So a little bit of an exhale for a lot of the drivers of like, but if you're here, you're in the building. As far as pro goes, you're in the show for Saturday.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, that's a bit of a relief for them, but it also means, you know, a lot of these drivers are fighting for those extra points to kind of break it out of, get a bit higher than the 20th place area they're in right now.
Let's see what kind of sorcery we got from the Drift Wizard, Andy Hateley, going against Dmitry Brutzky here in our Type S Top 16. This is our seeding bracket. Andy Hateley in that great-looking Evil AutoWorks BMW. Gotta love him. Dmitry Brutzky, a very proven driver, and this should be a good, fairly equally matched drive right here. Look at this, coming in blazing. Actually, really good speed there. Good commitment from Andy Hateley. He pulls away. So not as consistent as we saw from Hobson and Beichum. You could see kind of going back and forth, really kind of more of a stabbing motion with this BMW. Now finally, ooh, there goes. You can see Hateley Brutzky. Where are you going, buddy? Oh boy, we got total chaos.
Yeah.
As they are just kind of every which way and sideways. Looking like Rango's eyes here, just going every which direction.
It's a good analogy. I like that. Yeah, just a kind of a strange run from both drivers. It started off a little bit wonky right out of the gate. So Andy Hateley just trying to get this sorted. Now they did have, you didn't see it on screen here, but they did get their sight laps before this. We were able to pack that in while we were checking out replays previously. But yeah, you can already tell there, beginning of outside zone 2, starting to dry up. Andy Hateley catches a bit of that grip, shoots out, and then from there it's just trying to figure out what the car wants to do. But Brutzky does a great job in the chase. Kind of gets in tight where he needs to, and Andy Hateley picking up a lot of speed here on that over rotation. Now the track does end where that yellow line is. That is our finish line this year. That is where we are wrapping things up in that run. Doesn't quite make it.
that's the marathon runner where like the legs give out
right at the end.
It looks like a baby flamingo or something like crawling across, and the runner comes back. It's a philanthropic story, Brutzky comes back and he saves him,
pushes him across the finish line. I was kind of waiting for that. Yeah.
and you talk, before when we kick things off here, talking about the puddles and the accumulation of water. Now, as you said, where it's drying out, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
It's the contrarian to that. It's actually gripping up. So here we go with Brutzky. He's got a lot of experience driving in the rain. Basically, his hometown track is E-Town. As again, Brutzky picking up a new sponsor, talking about boring cars, but not the boring you're thinking. A boring ride, a private car collection. So far from boring is Brutzky. Far from boring, Brutzky. Brings it into that outside zone and transitions into the last outside zone. Goes Brutzky. Well, good job for him navigating through there. It looks like both of them tighten it up on that last outside zone.
Yeah, definitely a tough set of runs here as the patchiness increases. We're seeing tire smoke now, we're seeing steam, we're still seeing puddles, so it's a real mixed bag of track conditions at this point.
We got cashews, we got almonds, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely a bridge mix, if you will, of everything, but Brutzky outside zone 2 looks really good. And then Andy still just trying to figure out where that grip is going to come in. Brutzky out to outside zone 3, over-angling just a bit, gets that wall tap in, and then Andy just on a very shallow line throughout this entire run. I thought Brutzky was going to over-rotate, but able to get that car pulled off. Not making the same mistake that Andy made on his lead run. So, yeah, not incredible, but really, given the conditions and everything else going on, happy that they made it through those set of runs.
And you did such a good job. Here is your Werthers, Jacob, because you talked about bridge mix. So I just want to make sure I was making sure you're on. And here's that weird strawberry candy that has dust all over it. Here you go. Thank you, buddy. Dmitry Brutzky gets the win. He gets the sweetest treat of them all, advancing on here into our seeding brackets. Andy Hateley, the Drift Wizard, the sorcery, just not strong enough. We need a stronger staff, and you too shall pass. But you do not pass today for the young Andy Hateley. The Drift Wizard has come to a halt here on the road, and Brutzky has gotten his way. So Brutzky advances on. Austin Matta and Nick Novak, our next battle. Shakopee, Minnesota, Las Vegas, Nevada. Nick Novak back on, ready to attack.
Yeah, another driver really needing these points to get back into that Rookie of the Year race. It's a contentious thing, man. I mean, there's a lot of pride in becoming Rookie of the Year in pro.
Absolutely.
So, and Matta, I mean, we talked about Jack doing it, but Matta gets through this, wins seeding, he's back in the running again. It's a really tight points race this year.
Yep. A lot of backs going on. Nick Novak, he's from Las Vegas, and Backstreet Boys are at the Sphere right now. There's a lot of backs, dude.
That's quite the connection.
You
did a great job on
Kevin
that.
Bacon was in A Few Good Men. All right, here we go. Austin Matta will lead. Nick Novak will give chase as we are ripping out of that start chicane, tip to tail. Boom, Matta throws in it. There's smoke. I'm liking this. Yes, sir. Dry that thing out like the opposite of Zamboni machine. Don't smooth this thing out. Let's get rough. Let's get weird. Matta into that second. Nick Novak does have good proximity. Matta keeping it sideways good. You can see the counter there. Minimal corrections from Matta in that third outside zone. Novak tucks in, shoots in on the inside, but Matta gets to the outside zone. So Novak anticipated maybe diving in, but has to bring it on back. So making their way up the bank, and again, they're intended, you can see that cone just for fans, like, where are they going? Well, there's a cone there. That's where basically it is understood in competition, go all the way out there so you don't come unwound. We've had contact before where you come unwound and bash back in, like you're talking about Drift Masters, kind of a silly thing where Shanahan and Piotr get contact. But walk us through this run.
Yeah, Matta, first outside zone looks really good. Novak a bit more hesitant, kind of holding himself back through these runs. Matta almost over-rotates there. You can see just how much angle they're able to nurse out of these cars and keep it stable. And Matta comes out of this zone pretty early and almost has a drive straight moment there. And Novak just in a completely wrong place on the track at that point in time. Now, for Novak, it's a bit strange. You see where Matta comes out of that zone. It's going to throw things a bit crazy. So maybe that's what he was doing there, thinking that Novak wasn't even going to be able to complete the run. But really, when you're in the chase, you got to be on him. You got to kind of follow them around the track, even if that is not maybe the best place to be.
Baby, come back.
Baby, come back.
You can blame your angle on me. As Nick Novak is coming down the chute, Austin Matta comes in, and both of them initiating almost simultaneously. Novak lacking the angle from this angle of the camera, and now coming to that second outside zone. Matta dives in on the inside to that second outside zone. Novak very deep. Matta shallow, kind of off the wall, but Novak dials it in. So it looks like they're almost alternating positions, not just as far as lead and chase, but very similar lines with Novak out front. Matta seems to have a little bit more composure in the chase, though, coming across. Shaky, but had the car in the right place by comparison, even knocking out. See that back left tail light. Matta does flip it around, not having to go all the way down there, letting Novak pull down the car and rip it on back.
Yeah, so now that we've swapped things back around, so Nick Novak out front, Austin Matta in the chase. So Novak gets the initiation started early, but has to get back into throttle, kind of floats it out through that first outside zone. Looks good, good transition into two. Judges really want them to make the decel before transition, and that still does apply in the rain, although maybe not as crucial considering not a lot of speed to be decelling. So outside zone 3, Novak's got the one wheel in there, but Matta the whole time just more or less within striking range throughout the entire run. To get into outside zone 4, there you can see Novak getting both those tires in, and Matta doing a pretty good job there. So really it might come down to that mistake that we saw from Novak, which was a bit more of a straighten, but really was he straightening because of something that happened in front of him? That might be the argument that I'd be making there. So we'll see how the judges look at that, and we'll get that decision coming back just here in a moment.
And awaiting there, you can see Matt Sopa, who, that gentleman right there on the ground, the tall piece of meat right there, Mr. Matt Sopa from Wisconsin. He is the co-host of Pro Spec. Now going to the judges on this, Austin Matta, Nick Novak. Novak gets a 1, a 2, and a 3 votes. Nick Novak gets the victory here in the wet. Again, trust that Austin Matta will be in top 32 on Saturday, so congratulations to him. So, okay, so we have our next battle out here on the track, and some of you might be wondering, you can see Daigo Saito, that top right-hand corner. Thank you. As you may be wondering where Daigo Saito is, not here, why he's not here tonight, and just who is that driving his car during practice? Well, the answer is that Daigo, while coming through customs, he was not granted access to the U.S. and put on a plane back home to Japan. These kinds of things can happen, and it's very unclear as to why, since he did have an approved visa. But unfortunately, Daigo will not be here this weekend. However, because of this occurrence, the partners of Jerry Yang Racing, which include Juku, BC Racing, GT Radial, and 3M, got together and decided, you know what, let's give the fans something that even I could not have expected, and that is to have Shinji Manoa, who is Hiroya's dad and FD Japan champion and legend. He's going to give us a nice little one-of-a-kind demo on Saturday before the main event. So, unfortunately, again, the former champ, he's here. I love him back in FD here in the States, but these are the things we love about this community, that even when horrible news strikes, everyone gets together and works to try and create something awesome out of a tough situation. So props to Jerry Yang Racing, Shinji, of course, and all the FD Pro teams. Allowed him to take a couple practice laps to shake down the car. So if you're wondering, that's why. Daigo, again, we hopefully see you at the next round. Very crazy little happenstance situation.
Yeah, that's, couldn't have put it better myself. So.
Right. All right, so again, we will see that car on Saturday doing a couple burnings, little things, but Shinji Manoa will be ripping around. Right now, speaking of ripping around, we got Fiorella with, we're talking about the one and only Federico Sceriffo going against Jack Shanahan. Shanahan knows his conditions. We always definitely toot that Irish horn, but Fiorella, this big old Ferrari, could definitely handle the wet as well. Jack Shanahan, he's surging forward, maybe just keep it consistent as opposed to surging that BMW tight and right. And we can see Federico Sceriffo looks like he is very settled, comfortable in this Ferrari, pulling around the track. And that was probably, you know, Fetty's really good, solid run here. I think maybe he's like Ayrton Senna, praying for the rain, man.
Yeah, I mean, an immense amount of angle throughout this run, too. So Fiorella, Federico Sceriffo out front in that beautiful Ferrari, and Jack Shanahan caught a little bit off guard, has to start reeling him in, but Federico does a pretty good job there through the first outside zone, gets the transition done into outside zone 2, holds it back, and that's where we start to see a lot of this angle going through, and Jack not able to get to the power to the ground, and we already see that smoke as Federico on a drier line, able to really shoot past where Jack is on a tighter line, and that part hasn't dried up yet, and that leads to that big gap. But Federico in the lead, fills the zones, gets the little bit of traction, found the dry ground, and is able to pull a bit of a gap on the Irish driver of Jack Shanahan. So.
And yeah, I think that Jack surging back and forth, that's showing that he has the horsepower on deck and kind of chomping at the bed, let the dog eat, as the kids say. So I think that Jack might find those dry spots out here on the track and start to slingshot his way out front, and we'll see how Federico Sceriffo in the vehicle Fiorella. So I feel obligatory to say that, but now Jack Shanahan out front of Federico Sceriffo. Let's see how he manages, see how he handles, and see if what I said comes to fruition. Transitions into and across the nose of the Ferrari, and there we go, Jack Shanahan. This is what I expected, that 59, the BMW, great looking car. Nice little pocket rocket coming into that second outside zone, and look at that Federico Sceriffo. That big old Ferrari making that BMW look like just that. Goes up, hits that K-rail, and you can see that K-rail jumps the car up, but he keeps on keeping on. In that last outside zone, Shanahan, I mean, absolutely. Like I said, you know, these Irish drivers, they know how to drive in the wet. They know how to manage the car, and they know, you know, with that wheel speed, still maintain the ability to find the traction is just really impressive.
Yeah, it's an incredible ability, I mean, out of those drivers who realistically drive in the rain probably far more than they drive in the dry, but Jack gets most of that first outside zone done. Going into the second outside zone, things look pretty tidy through here. Fiorella and Federico Sceriffo on a bit tighter of a line as the flames popping at the back of that Ferrari, and then we see a big surge there from Jack, who gets a little unsorted as he hits that K-rail, and then gets back into that last outside zone. So really, Jack just having that mistake there on the wall, that was about it. I think the car just really picked up speed, tries to throw that bit of angle in a little bit too late, and has to use the concrete barrier there to slow things down. So we'll see. This is definitely an interesting one, as see both drivers sitting there in front of Matt Sopa, waiting to see what the results are going to be. We get our BC Racing custom coilover side by side. So let's take a look, see what we can pull out of this. So both drivers outside zone 1, I would say fairly even throughout, even lead and chase. Second outside zone, both drivers pretty tight through there again. And this is the part where Jack gets gapped a little bit in the chase. You can see the smoke both of them are able to kind of make there. And then really, I mean, Federico, the only part I pick on Federico throughout that thing is that he's kind of decelling before the transition, and really the judges want them to make the transition on throttle, then decel, and he kind of angled up a little bit too much on the outside.
In the lead.
In the lead, yes, thank you. But Jack did have that mistake on outside zone 3 as well, so how those two play against each other, we'll have to see.
Yeah, and it didn't affect Federico too much.
Right.
He did fall back a little bit, so maybe, you know, as I say that, I'm kind of thinking and recounting, maybe he did have to back off a little bit, but love Jack Shanahan's attitude. It's definitely a learning year coming over here, coming to the States. You know, I mean, here we are traveling, but we're not having to jump behind the wheel of a car. We haven't, you know, so here it is, one more time, very deserved. I think that they both had mistakes on either side, and I love that the track is drying out. Like I said, they are in Saturday's main event in top 32, but I think they both have the ability with the track conditions drying out just a little bit. It's, you know, rain isn't falling right now. It's just accumulating, and it had accumulated, and you know, it could change. It could start raining, so just got to stay consistent with it. In our next battle, we've already seen them do their sight laps. The Pride of Paducah, Jonathan Hurst, and Rad Dan, Radical Daniel from Washington, originally now residing in Florida. He is in that Mark IV Toyota Supra. Great looking car. Jonathan Hurst, you got to love the Cadillac. No drop in the top on the convertible there right now, but Mr. Cool, that's that name. That name again is Mr. Cool. Here comes that Cadillac into that first outside zone. What's blue and silver and smoky all over these two guys. And you can see going to that second outside zone. Good angle. Oh, and Jonathan Hurst backs in those 3D printed Cadillac taillights. Comes at an angle quite a bit. Goes back into it. Firing up. What is happening here? There's fire everywhere going off in this car. 4th of July was a couple weeks ago. So zero chill for the Mr. Cool Cadillac. So got a bit wonky there towards the latter portion of the run there for Jonathan Hurst out front.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that wall tap kind of messed something up in the rear. We'll have to see on the replay if it ended up catching the wheel, because the car looked really strange after it made that wall tap in outside zone 2. But outside zone 1, Hurst in it and just kind of finding the angle and the pace of the car that gets through that transition on outside zone 2. Look at the angle he adds in and taps that back in pretty hard. Now look at the angle and kind of that crab walk he's got going on. And the car is so reactive to his inputs right now. It's just very twitchy. Every time he's wanting to add a bit of angle, throws all the angle, and that's what we see is, I mean, Rad Dan in this case kind of pushes him across the finish line. So I wouldn't be shocked if Hurst ends up calling a 5, but I also know he's not the kind of guy who likes to call those and will just go out and battle. So we'll see.
Yeah, you know, at this point, it's like, okay, say he advances on 3, 6, 9, 12 points, right? So if you advance on, so yeah. 3, 6.
But I mean, for a driver that's sitting 34th overall right now, I might be wanting to get those points. Every little bit counts at this point in the season, so we'll see. They're back at the line, ready to go.
All right, so as you said, you kind of looked into your crystal ball and said, you know what? He's not going to call it. So the Pride of Paducah continues on. Jonathan Hurst, but Rad Dan out front. He's got the clean air. Outside of a little bit of sprinkles on his windscreen, now coming into the second outside zone. And there it is. Jonathan Hurst doesn't seem to be having any issues. Looks like he shook the cobwebs just out back and continues on here in this third outside zone. Ooh, and another driver gets into that third outside zone, as we saw earlier with Shanahan. Now coming to this last outside zone. There goes Rad Dan and crossing the finish line up the bank.
Yeah, both drivers just getting through that run as we see this track develop even more and more as a patchy surface. We're seeing more smoke, but a couple of spots still on the track where it's quite slick, and they're fighting through it. They're doing their absolute best to just get through and put on as much of the run as they possibly can, as smooth as possible. Once we get to this replay, we'll take a look here at exactly what all transpired with Rad Dan out in the lead. So gets into that initiation, gets back on throttle. You can see the left foot brake going there to keep that car into that zone, slowing down the front wheels to try and make sure the back wheels don't leave the zone. And then Hurst on a much tighter line there, and look at the amount of angle that Rad Dan gets through there and then shoots off. That is definitely a dry patch, but catches that wall. Similar to, as you said, with Jack Shanahan, through our transition to our last outside zone. Dan almost over-rotates there, able to catch it, gets back on throttle, and does make it across the line. So I'm not quite sure if we would consider Hurst's first run an incomplete or where that ends up sitting there, but yeah, either way, judge is going to have their decision.
Slide him left and right for Dan Burkett. Dan Burkett gets the victory, advances on. Jonathan Hurst watched from the sidelines, but he will be seen on Saturday in top 32.
Yeah, and I mean, for Hurst, definitely go back, take a look. He did have a pretty big hit in practice before this, so it's good that he was able to make it back out there, but you don't know what kind of state that car's in. It might have been a rush to get just out to the line.
He's locked in.
Yeah, I shocked him too much.
We'll see.
It's just a bit
Shake
numb.
it on, shake it on, shake it on, shake it. Here we go.
Moving on and back to the one more time battle of Federico Sceriffo and Jack Shanahan. Here comes Federico Sceriffo. And there is Shanahan, tip to tail. Yeah, the new tires, I mean, why not? So there's smoke, there's a little bit of steam, and there is definitely some debris in the windscreen. Now coming into that third outside zone, look at Fetty, you see minimal corrections going to that third outside zone. Very well calculated there. You can see the bright yellow gloves working his way on in into that last outside zone, and Shanahan tucking in.
Yeah.
Man, give him a little smooch on the forehead, say goodnight. That was nice.
That was a really good battle. I even heard some claps there from the judges on that one. So both drivers kind of taking notes, getting things sorted. Looks like, I mean, Federico Sceriffo, there's a couple of changes he's got going on right now. They're paying off. He's driving really well. The way they got that car set up looks stable. But Jack Shanahan with that dive in the first outside zone, and look at, he is not going to make that same mistake twice. He is not underestimating Fetty on this run at all. And he's on, and this is the Jack Shanahan I was hoping to see in that first battle, but now we get to see it in the one more time. So definitely in tight there, sacrificing a bit of line, a bit of angle to keep that proximity. And then look at this, just locked in through the rest of that. Great job. I mean, those drivers pushing even past the finish line. Remember, it's the yellow line right now. Don't need to do much past that point as we swap them back around as we're...
Where's Shanahan going?
He's taking a long way.
Going home?
He's taking a long way around, yeah.
Take the long way home.
I mean, he's taking in the sights of this beautiful track. Like, you know, let's get a tour.
Yeah.
See him down the backstretch.
Don't go worldwide.
Yeah.
Literally, it's you know, contrary to popular belief, Mr. Worldwide, you know, Pitbull's not at the end of the track.
Oh, yeah, he thought,
Pitbull was here.
I was misinformed.
Yeah. So, but contrary to popular belief, Reese just found that out too.
I know. Well, we were excited. I was going to shave my head for the occasion.
You're going to see. Oh, I'd love to see that. Actually, Jacob, under the beanie, he is bald. Everybody, just let it be told, under the beanie, he is bald. All right, here we go. Let's change the order here. Jack Shanahan out front, Federico Sceriffo in the chase position in that first outside zone. As I said, that's the Shanahan we know and love. And now Fetty, he gives it back. He twists the screws. They might be Italian, but yeah, they're screws nonetheless. It's a spicy meatball coming in sideways. Now Jack Shanahan in that third outside zone, navigating to the fourth. No one more times. They're going to force an opinion upon the judges and upon you. Here we go, Shanahan, Fetty, man.
Dang.
Like I said, these guys are not playing around here in the rain. Fetty, that big old Ferrari, that can handle it, man.
It's really cool to see both of them kind of on form right now, where, you know, this is a Jack that we more or less expect, and Fetty, whatever's different, whatever's changed, mindset, car, team, I don't know, maybe different cappuccino this morning, he's on it, man. This is really, really great to see. Second outside zone looks solid. Look at Fetty just mirroring him. Jack gets that dry line, shoots the car out, does a great job through outside zone 3, gets that transition done, shoots in towards the wall. And then outside zone 4 looks solid from both drivers. Fetty just fading that car back into the spot and back into tandem. And I mean, it kind of sucks that they don't get another one more time on this, because I mean, I'm cool seeing them run again. I know they're not allowed to. We don't want them shocked, but it's yeah.
I want to see drier conditions. I want to see drier.
It's getting there. It
is getting there. You know, I think the 4 outside zones, it creates some dynamicism, but let's take a look at it again.
Yeah, so BC Racing custom coilover side by side. And yeah, I mean, really, both these drivers getting things locked in throughout. And it's going to be tough for these judges to really decide how this plays out, because both the lead runs very solid and the chases are very similar. I mean, really, outside zone 4, how does this play out? I'd say Jack maybe got in there a touch sooner. And taking a look at what the judges are looking at here, you know, really coming up with a conclusion at the end of that run. So that side by side for them, very definitive, gave them that call. And we'll see how this comes together for these two drivers.
Slide him left for Fetty, right for Jack Shanahan, and Shanahan wins again as Jack Shanahan in that BMW gets the victory. Rep in Ireland. What do you got?
Fetty's got to be stoked, though. I mean, I'm sure he's not happy he didn't win that, but looks really on form. Yeah.
Track time. And, you know, the forecast, when I was like, you know, I was in England. And I was looking at the weather. I was like, oh man. I was like, son of a gun. You know, like we just can't. I mean, we've had some great weather. Even Jersey after that crazy #1 worst weather we've ever had. You know, tree falls on Jeff. He's not homies with Groot anymore. Groot decided to just rain on his parade or rain on his Z. After that, we had an amazing event.
Yeah.
This just is pretty consistent of just we're going to see rain at some point every day.
Okay.
Tomorrow, Saturday. Just, I mean, right? You're saying we're good tomorrow, Kemp?
Oh.
Oh, you called somebody. My director's saying he called somebody and said there's no rain.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea that Kemp had that kind of power. I look at him, I'm like, that guy's got power, but I know he had that kind of power.
He knows people.
Yeah. Again, you worry about the guy in the T-shirt at the meeting, not the guy in the three-piece suit.
Kemp is all T-shirts.
And that's that, dude.
All
the power of the T-shirt, the power of the babe, the power of the hoodoo, the voodoo, the power of the babe. All right, which way did he go? Oh, he went to that way. Do you know what movie I'm quoting? Labyrinth.
Labyrinth. Got it.
All right, is this the battle or are these side laps? This is a battle. Here we go. All right, so let's take a look at Mr. Hansen, Rudy Hansen. We're seeing him go against Trenton Beichum. Hansen, the Team Hansen S chassis. We have not seen him run in the rain, but it has dried considerably. Now to that second outside zone, you see a quick little wall tap here, but Beichum looking comfortable. More on the Ocean than the Beichum, so Oceanum right now into this last outside zone. Here goes Rudy Hansen, good angle from him. Beichum lets him, gives him a little bit of room, a little bit of line to run it out. But let's get that truth serum. I want to get that overhead camera, just that angle did not suffice. But look at the dry spots up there on the bank. Obviously, that's the top of the bank, so water rolls downhill, as do many things.
It is, I mean, it's drying up quite quickly, and the more laps we put in, the more that the actual drifting line is drying up as well, and we're getting a little bit of rubber laid down now. But let's take a look at that truth serum, as Jared says. So Rudy having to make a bit of a correction to get into that first outside zone, getting a bunch of angle there. Little bit kind of on-off throttle to really get the car settled. Beichum playing back just a little bit, but he does a good job of mirroring what Rudy's doing, although just slightly behind him throughout those motions, and Rudy really floating that car out before they get to outside zone 4. So for me, Rudy's run was pretty solid, but could have been deeper into a few spots and maybe a bit more fluid throughout it. But Beichum maybe a touch too safe. Could have been in that pocket a little bit more, but when you've got a driver who's kind of in and out of the zone, in and on, or on and off throttle, it becomes difficult to chase that. So both drivers, a few things to clean up. We'll swap them around, see what Beichum's got out in the lead.
And also, at what point do you risk it, and what point do you just kick back, you know, and save the car? But every time I say that, everybody's like, no, dude, they're going 97%. You know, that's what Sopa said. But here we go, Trent Beichum, that ESR BMW. He's on Kumo tires. Now coming in, and look at Rudy Hansen. He's not backing down right now in that second outside zone. You can see the attitude of the vehicle kind of jumping back and forth, bucking like a Bronco in that third outside zone. Beichum throws that back end, that duckbill wing, quack, quack. It looks comfortable in the rain into this last outside zone, brings it into the final outside zone, and Beichum and Hansen looking like duck-billed platypuses here, just an anomaly and bringing it across. Well done by Beichum and Hansen.
Yeah, Beichum, he's getting this sorted. He's really getting it figured out. Gets into the first outside zone nice and early. Could have been a little bit deeper. We're seeing the smoke in the front tire, showing that they've got to use that left foot braking now. Gets into the zone, outside zone 2, a little bit early, and then pushes out a bit wide. Then you can see the grip come back into the car as he shoots out, gets that wall tap in on outside zone 3. Well, Rudy playing back again. And then outside zone 4, one wheel in through most of those zones for Beichum. Yeah. So getting those zones just not as deep as we would like them to. So I think both drivers kind of have a similar scenario there on their lead run. So kind of one tire in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'd like to see him dive right in.
All right, let's see how they navigate this and who will be moving on to the final 4. Because next up, what do we got next? Would that be Dmitry Brutzky and Nick Noback?
Yeah, so as we said before, all these drivers really fighting for these points as we get into our side-by-side here. So kind of know what we're looking for, what we had in the lead, which both drivers getting the one wheel in. In the chase here, to me, Rudy's got that first zone kind of on lock, second outside zone. They're both on a pretty tight line. And then as we start to push out towards the third, I mean, very similar there as well. Both drivers transitioning, I mean, almost mirror just between the two runs, and Rudy a bit more proximity through that, whereas, yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's tough. Both drivers just need to get a little bit deeper in their runs and be a bit more aggressive in the chase. So we shall see what the judges think. They've already got their scores in, though.
Shall continue to rock the mic.
Yeah.
Hansen and Beichum wait. The sight laps are completed from Brutzky and Novak. They're already on the start line, waiting for the verdict. And looking over the judges' shoulders, they have inputted them. So graphics coming up to see who moves on to the final four. Already on the other side, we do see Jack Shanahan and Dan Burkett. On the other side, the winner of this joining those two drivers in the final four. So we'll quickly get through this. Hit the hay and back at it like a track addict tomorrow. So tomorrow's action is all pro spec. So taking a look at the schedule, live stream is local time 3 o'clock. So we'll see some sunny schedule, and then top 16s at 8 o'clock. Slide him left for Hansen, right for Beichum, and it looks like Rudy Hansen. I always say it looks like he's just got off his jet ski, and pretty much that's what he just did.
It's a good place to have a jet ski.
Didn't know there was a Rotax under that hood. That's sweet. Little skidoo, little sea-doo, ski-doo, and he do win. Rudy Hansen gets the victory into the final four, 3 points richer for the Hansen camp. So one more driver to join them, and it's one of these gentlemen, Dmitry Brutzky or Nick Novak.
Yeah, I can see this being a really solid battle between the two. I mean, their battles previous were quite good, so we'll see how this ends up stacking up. Both drivers, I would say, very similar driving style in the rain, very similar driving style altogether. So it's a good pairing, and it's going to kind of come down to who can really manage the few slick spots that we still have on track, which, yeah, a little bit in outside zone 2, outside zone 4, still pretty wet.
Yeah, four, you could see that really becomes, and it's very sketchy going in from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Because water accumulates right as they, like a quarter of the way into that outside zone, there is a big puddle there. So if you get involved in that, that could throw you into the mud. So right now we're seeing Nick Novak out front, put it into that first outside zone properly. Dmitry Brutzky comes up a bit short. Now into that second outside zone. Good proximity from Brutzky in the chase position. Into that third outside zone. There goes Novak. You see some corrections from Brutzky. Novak slides that back bumper, shredding a little layer there like an onion, but nobody's crying. Coming that last outside zone. There goes Brutzky and Novak, bringing it on home up the bank, but not cashing any checks yet. It might be a bank of a different sort. Now they're going to come back, and now we'll see Brutzky out front and Novak in the chase. Good.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, right out of the gate, solid, gets that grip, gets that car really lit up pretty early into that first outside zone, not filling the entire thing. Brutzky on a tighter line, tries to anticipate when that transition is going to happen. Nick comes out of the second outside zone just a touch early, and as he starts to push it through the third, maybe not as smoke as we've seen, but has to angle up the car a little bit before getting into the wall, something we're seeing over and over again. And then as we get into outside zone 4, Nick having to hold that car back. With Brutzky in the chase on that one, does a really good job. Doesn't get over aggressive, doesn't bite, doesn't kind of make an attack on Nick at any point in time, but stays in the conversation all the way through and just tries to make sure he's part of this battle without doing anything silly that might cause him to get knocked out early. So playing a bit safe, but we'll see how that plays out. Nick, I don't think Nick's going to play it safe. I think Nick will go right at him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
That's my guess. We'll see.
All right. Nick is just such a mellow dude.
Yeah, except for when he's driving. Like outside of the car, very quiet, you know, kind of just, you know, hangs. He's always around.
Blew his roof off. Urbandale. That was legend. That was legendary.
That's what I'm saying. Once he's driving, though, completely different animal.
Nick Novak, Nick no roof.
Yep.
Roll the tape. All right, let's take a look. Dmitry Brutzky will lead. Novak giving him chase. He said he's not backing down. Let's see what kind of pressure the Novak can push back in the second run of this battle. Who's going against? We're talking about Rudy Hansen in the final 4. On the other side, we will first see Jack Shanahan and the Danimal that is Dan Burkett. Again, very subdued guys. This is like, I mean, Jack's not mellow.
No,
not
mellow. Not even a little.
But he actually is mellow.
He's pretty chill to hang out with, and then you get him rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, yeah. Don't piss him off.
No.
Yeah. He's like a rhino.
Yeah.
Looks mellow, looks cool, but you know that accumulation of fingernails, aka the horns, can just come at you. Here we go. Dmitry Brutzky out front, and looking at Nick Novak in the chase position. You talked about him being aggressive, but he's very shallow. He's kind of adopting that line that Brutzky had, taking that shallower line, and he's back there quite a bit. Brutzky finding the grip in all of this rain and placing the car properly that boring cars again, boring the car collection. Take a look at it. I know he's promoting it and sponsored by the Boring Car Collection. And there it is, crossing that finish line. So, like I said, Dmitry Brutzky gaining that new sponsor. Wanted to make sure that give it the love it deserves. Boring ride, boring dot ride.
Yeah, so right out of the gate, Brutzky definitely finding some grip, but as he gets into this first outside zone, you can see shoots out of it right there a little bit earlier on. Nick really, really shallow, and then like a snappy transition for Nick in the chase, and then Brutzky one wheel in, pulling a bit of angle out, and then he does a great job of finding the grip throughout this entire run. Nick having to miss those zones in the chase just to keep up, and a good transition there from Nick. Well timed, with Brutzky kind of coming in and out of that zone. So really, it was kind of the story of Brutzky finding the grip on track, Novak having to find a way to battle back into it by looking for any traction that he could. But the inside line's never going to have, in these conditions, it's really not going to have the speed that the drift line, the main line is going to have, because it's just not wet, or it's not dry. It's wet. It's just not going to have the rubber laid down. So tough. You really got to stay on that same line that the lead car is to be able to keep the same speed.
You're from Windsor, you know about snow, right?
I do, yeah.
Are you going to go on the powder to be the fastest, or are you going to go on the packed stuff?
You're going to go on the packed stuff.
There you go,
on
that packed stuff.
There you go.
You know, all these, you know, St. Louis knows about that.
Yeah.
Canadians know about it. Californians, not so much.
No.
But, you know, you drive through LA, you want to go where it's dry.
Yeah.
Because LA drivers are going to cause a lot of traffic. All right, stupid analogies. Go.
It's all good.
Got it.
Take a look at the side-by-side. So really, on the lead runs, which driver is filling the zones most completely? There, Brutzky was a bit shallower. I would kind of tip my hat towards Nick to the second outside zone, third outside zone. Both pretty similar. Nick might have come out a touch earlier. And then as we get into our fourth outside zone, I mean, the leads are pretty similar through a lot of this. And the chases aren't that far off either. Honestly, it took that replay for me to really kind of notice that, just how similar both runs were. You know, once you see one, you might start going one direction. But yeah, this is a lot tighter than I originally thought it was going to be.
One Direction. I didn't know you were a One Direction fan.
I'm not, but
okay. I mean, you said it.
Casual.
I don't know why you brought.
They barely make the top 10 at the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine.
Is that a fan then?
No, it's
okay. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, whatever. You know, they're on. It's your Spotify playlist. You have to justify however you want. Rudy Hansen gets 1 vote, gets 2 votes. And the St. Louis Arch wins, and the Arch wins. You know, as my boy Joe Keith says, you know, hitting greens, he says, you know, you got to golf with more soul than a sock in your hole.
Okay,
catch that one.
I got that. No, it's good. That's deep. That's a deep one.
You got to drift with more soul than a sock in a hole, meaning you're grounded.
Or a hole in your sock. What? Anyways.
Yeah, there we go. So what is happening right now?
Actual split.
Okay, which one is this correct?
Okay.
Correct. Split decision across Nick Novak, Dmitry Brutzky. There you have it. So
it's a true split too.
Yeah, that is absolutely across the board. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. But we are seeing it collectively one more time. Reese Marin frantically throws on the headset, but he's talking to Brian, he's talking to Vernon, and this is a bye run for Jack Shanahan. But while he's running, we'll get some words with Mr. Marin. Mr. Marin, speaking on behalf of the judges, you got to not turn on the red light like Roxanne, but turn on the blue light for Reese Marin. Reese?
Yeah, so when we were watching the battle here, for me, I kind of saw even errors on both sides in the lead and in the chase. I talked to Brian, he was saying that, you know, when we were looking at Brutzky, we were seeing some errors when it was going into the chase. I mean, excuse me, that's what Bernie was saying, that he was pulling the handbrake a little bit. Novak was kind of messing up Brutzky a little bit. Brutzky was doing good on Novak was doing good on Brian's behalf. Going through everything. As I was seeing it, there was enough errors in the lead, there was enough errors in this chase in order for me to justify. I kind of saw shallow from both guys in outside zone 1, shallow in outside zone 2. They were doing good in outside zone 3. They were a little shallow in outside zone 4. In the chase, they were equally kind of going through, and that's why I ended up going one more time.
And what about your peers over there? You guys are all over the board.
Yeah, well, hold on.
Are you guys playing darts? Are you playing darts down there? Got it.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. I got confused too.
Yeah.
I was buffering. I was downloading a file real quick.
A lot going on. I get it.
There is. I got a little rain on my system and just fried the motherboard. So we got the one more time. There's another by run from Rad Dan, and this is what happens. You know, when it rains, slows things down a little bit. The pace slows down. We had dry conditions, and as we said, ideally we're going to get dry through the entirety of the day. Seeing like a 20% chance of rain in the back. You know, but Rad Dan. Speaking of out back, talking about the molded one, Rad Dan into that first outside zone. There's a by run, good opportunity, and then seeing quite a bit more smoke than we saw as we started things here in our seating brackets.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit more of a sight lap, really, that he's getting with this, kind of figure out what the track's going to be like. So hopefully that means we just get an even better battle when Jack and Dan go head-to-head. That's good.
Novak in the front. He says no, no back. Yes, front. As Nick is up front. Let's see what we do. Cannot have them go one more time. Who is going against? Rudy Hansen.
Sopa doing some cosmetic repair there?
Yeah, I think he's getting a little pep talk.
Interesting.
Just saying, you know, hey, I believe in you. You know, I believe I can fly.
Believe I can touch the sky.
Yeah.
Thinks about it every night and day.
I'd like to differ, you know. And there goes Novak, ripping out of the gate. Easy. Novak. You think the course is drying up? Yes, sir. That's right. Turns on the smoke machine on that first outside zone. Now coming in the second outside zone. Brutzky dives in. He finds that grip as well. Now shooting from second to the third outside zone goes Novak and Brutzky. Now let's see how Novak navigates this. Puts it right on that course edge. Lights it up. Kind of beelines out of the outside zone 4 in that lead position.
Yeah, but he definitely found the dry spots on this track. I mean, the spotters must have been chatting with him, especially with the by runs we saw earlier from Dan and Jack. So yeah, let's take a look here. Brutzky, I mean, has to adapt on that run because Novak throughout this session here is doing a great job of finding the grip in the track, lighting the tires off, making as much can to smoke as he possibly can, and Brutzky having to play a bit of catch up. And as I said before, running that tighter line can work in the dry, but when you start to get these patchy conditions or slightly damp track, it becomes very, very difficult because once you come offline, it is going to be nearly as grippy as what you'd be hoping for. But as they swap it around, what happens now with Brutzky? Is he able to do the same thing that we saw from Novak? Can he keep that pace and really push it as both drivers pretty speedily getting into the burnout or getting into the start chicane there, get this battle underway? So they both look pretty eager to get things going as we swap them around.
We're just talking about why they can't go one more time. Because we choose to not give them the option.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for expedience of competition. Here we go. Dmitry Brutzky will lead, and Novak chasing him down in the second outside zone. Brutzky goes deeper. I want to see that overhead, just that angle straight on. You can't really see exact placement, but you can see Brutzky drag the wall. Now, Novak just lets him go in front. It looks like he opens the door like a nice gentleman walking into Starbucks. 35 burgers, 35 fries. That's what he's ordering right there, and then he's whipping around. Have you ever bought anybody like, hey, let me pay for those people behind?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I do that.
How often?
When I lived in Canada, I used to do it at the Tim Hortons all the time.
How long?
How
many times?
Have I done it?
Yeah.
Probably 5-10 times, yeah. Like a good chunk.
I think I've done it like twice.
Yeah? Yeah, and then you get like one guy who's got 3 sandwiches. And
You're like,
yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it.
35 burgers, 35 fries. There we go.
Oh, man. Yeah, so, I mean, Brutzky finding the same level of grip that Novak did. First outside zone looks solid. Second outside zone, you can see there, Novak finding grip in strange places, too, able to get that picked up. But really, to me, it's this transition that Novak gets coming out of 3 into 4, tucks in, great job there, and then gets back into the pocket, has to push the car a little bit wide. And really, with how short the 4th outside zone is, you do not have a lot of time to make a correction there before the zone is over and they cross the yellow line. So good job there from both drivers, finding that grip, making that smoke, putting on a great show here for everybody at home and everybody in St. Louis.
And everybody across the globe.
Yeah, yeah.
Tuning in. Thursday, casual Thursday, moving on to Furious Friday.
Ooh.
And then,
rename it.
You know, Sloppy Saturday.
Sloppy Saturday.
Just kidding. All right, here we are taking a look. So look at that gap.
Yeah, does a great job there. And really, both drivers finding that grip. Very similar in the chase again. I mean, they're stylistically, they've matched up quite well here. Brutzky a little bit closer on the chase and then through a third outside zone. It is so similar between both drivers. Great transition from both. Really, Novak might, it might come down to that fourth zone. Novak's got a little bit more, but we're splitting hairs here, and we have to split hairs because, as we said, one more time, off the table.
Just some of the sayings that we like end up saying, you know, like, oh, it's more than one way to skin a cat. Who skins cats?
I hope no one.
Yeah, let's just keep it like that.
Yeah.
All right, Nick Novak gets the victory, and it is unanimous. Novak advances on. It's Novak versus Hansen. Brutzky is knocked out, but fear not, we will see Brutzky on Saturday, the glorious Saturday. We'll see just the serendipitous Saturday. That's what we are seeing for round 5.
I like it. Serendipitous Saturday.
I don't know.
Hard to put on a shirt.
What do you got?
Not bad.
Shirtless Saturday?
Serendipitous Saturday.
I thought you
Hard to
said
put on a
shirtless
shirt.
Saturday.
No, shirtless Saturday? I'm not doing that.
Okay, I mean, whatever. I was in the media meeting, and they said, you have to wear a vest. You have to wear a shirt under said vest.
Every rule has a story, and I was here for that story.
Was it you?
No, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
No, another
You
media
beg
guy.
to differ.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I'm not a shirtless guy.
All right. Yeah, I don't know.
Sleeveless. I'll go sleeveless. Yeah.
I mean, basically, you know, you're sleeveless with your shorts. You got jorts on.
Yeah, I like jorts.
I wear jorts too.
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh. 5 minutes from Shanahan.
Shanahan shakedown.
Interesting. Interesting.
No handbrake.
Okay.
Look, Ma, no handbrake.
Yeah, that's this is not an easy track to get around without a handbrake, that's for sure. Not at all.
That would be torture. How was Drift Masters?
It's good. It's good.
You know, speaking of Ireland, speaking of Shanahan's.
Ireland's beautiful. Competition was great. I mean, getting
It's the best trip ever in your.
It was. It really was. I mean, it's a long year this year playing double duty. I know you travel a ton too, so getting that week off to explore the country was very needed. Yeah. And it was one of those I didn't realize how much I needed a vacation until I was on it. Okay. I went, okay, this is good. But yeah, drove around Cork, got to check out James's shop. I stayed the night at the Shanahans. That was really cool. They are. It's a really cool family to be very much embedded with.
Yeah, dude, you were in it.
That was just full experience.
You can't pay for that.
No, not that.
Literally, you cannot. Like,
no, they will not let you.
We'll turn down the money. Actually, they'll take it, but just kick you out.
Yeah.
That's how they do. I'm joking.
They'll just feed you until you can't leave. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, well, as we're having some fun traveling around the world, let's take a look back to Atlanta. The Mustang Unleashed, their activation. You know how capable the Ford Mustang is, and it is one heck of a machine. Let's take a look back at the second version. There, amazing. How about Fern Gully, aka Avatar?
I haven't watched Fern Gully in forever.
They say that Fern Gully is basically Avatar,
which is just Pocahontas.
Oof.
Right?
So we're getting so meta right now.
It is though.
All right, so we advance on with the battles, and there it is. So we are seeing Hansen and Novak, Shanahan and Burkett, seeding brackets. And you could see in that burnout box, this is round 5 of 8 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. Our seeding bracket looks like they are jumping out and jumping to the line.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Jack got that e-brake sorted or where they're at with it. I didn't get any confirmation as to what the plan is, if it did get fixed or if he's just going to go for it.
We will see.
I feel like Jack's the kind of guy who's like, I'll figure it out.
I think he's going to go Shanahan.
Oof. Shanahan sandwich?
Shanahan sandwich. Let's see. So, but right now we are on the other side of the bracket. That's Rad Dan. And, right? Yeah. Okay. So Shanahan. If a problem comes along, you must fix it. Here we go. So Shanahan out front, talking about Jack, and Burkett coming in. Look at the swing of, I feel like maybe the handbrake isn't fixed, and that's why he's throwing so much angle to slow down the car. Or, I mean, he is ripping right now. Jack Shanahan, smoke machine. Look at that wheel speed. He is jumping up there.
Now coming in.
Rad Dan Burkett. Yeah, I think he might just be clutch kicking and just throwing so much angle at it to slow it down, as opposed to pulling that handbrake and massaging it, sliding it back.
Yeah, I think
that was sick.
I think you nailed it. I did not see the rear wheels lock on that run, so Big old feint to get out there, just comes off throttle, big left foot brake to get back into the zone. Maybe Dan knows that, trying to play back a little bit, and then there's Jack just throwing caution to the wind, hucking that car around, complete old school style, just getting through the track, using the right pedal only, which is just fantastic. So Jack Shanahan finding a way to get around the track, but either way, I mean, it does show in a few spots where the handbrake might have been beneficial to him to fill out that zone a little bit more, but finding other tactics. So Rad Dan taking a slightly hesitant approach through a lot of it, but really, when you're expecting a driver to be using the handbrake in some of those transitions and things like that. So yeah, I'm getting the word here. There is no handbrake. That was a run completely without handbrakes for him. Now, this is where it becomes very difficult, is doing that in the chase.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's...
Who just told you that?
Matt's came by the window.
He loves being tickled.
Yeah, I heard that. Big tickle fan.
He's like, let's have a tickle fight.
Yeah.
It just randomly. He just comes up, he's like, tickle fight. He does it. It's super weird.
Look, he's giving thumbs up, too.
I don't know what's his thing. I had no idea that was his thing.
Everyone's got their thing.
That's his thing.
Yeah.
So if you ever see Matt's,
tickle him.
Tickle.
Yeah.
It's just open dialogue. All right, here we go. And that is not Nick Novak nor Rudy Hansen. It is Dan Burkett and Jack Shanahan. And there it is, the Rad Industries Mark IV Super coming on in. Let's see how Shanahan from the rear handles it with no handbrake. Not getting very handsy, but he is getting that big angle. And look, we don't need no stinking handbrake. Look at this. So, but Dan Burkett, great angle from him, a good lead run. And Shanahan massages it on in. Big angle from Dan Burkett, bringing it on home. And a good effort by both drivers. Loving the flow of this track.
Yeah.
If we get dry conditions tomorrow and Saturday, this is gonna, I think this might very well be the best layout we've ever had at St. Louis. I like just the fluidity of it, the lengthening of it. As we said, just those mild little modifications really change the flow, the ebbs and the flows of the track.
Yeah, I mean, with the current layout that we've got, this is by far the best iteration of it. Pushing that first outside zone back further means that the transition into two is much snappier, and really it has flowed so much better than we've seen previously. But yeah, Rad Dan out there filling that first outside zone, really aggressive in it. We know Jack doesn't have that handbrake, but the judges, I mean, that's no matter to them. It's, you still got to do the job with the equipment that you've got. But Rad Dan, solid line through third outside zone. Transition here looks good. Getting that rotation down. Maybe comes out of the zone just a touch earlier, but really, really happy with the driving we're seeing out of Rad Dan here, who's got that car. You know, he's got it sorted. Seems to be driving with a lot more confidence, and just it's hard to say, like, it looks like he's having more fun in the car, but it's smoother. It's a lot more committed.
It's looser.
He's not fighting it.
Yeah, it's looser.
So just good. I mean, it's really it's great to see, because Dan is such an incredible driver. When you start to see them make those leaps and bounds, it makes such a massive difference. So
like his style.
Yeah. Get into the side-by-side. Let's see how things roll out. First outside zone for both drivers looks good. Big transition there from Jack. And I think both of them kind of missed the same amount of that second outside zone. Third outside zone, pretty similar again. And really, I think, to me, the fourth one is come into play through so many of these runs. And yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, kudos to Jack for getting through that run without the handbrake. But, I mean, shouts out to Rad Dan, who's just getting everything planted and putting on a great show here for our seating bracket. So see what the judges think. They got their you know, their call in pretty early on that one, and see what they end up coming up with here.
Perfect fit. One more time, and uno mas. Shanahan and Burkett.
All right, so now the question becomes, can Jack get that e-brake fixed in that amount of time where they've got the brake on the one more time? So a night that with the buys, you might have thought, hey, we're clocking out early. We're getting a full show here, that's for sure.
All right, looks like Jack Shanahan is going to the snack shack to get a Kit Kat because he needs give me a break.
Yeah.
And we are going back to Rudy Hansen and Nick Noback. Thanks, I got a little chuckle out of that dad joke from Reese. and a true dad is Brian Edgar. So he chuckled too, but he needs a haircut too. All right, here we go. Rudy Hansen will lead, and Nick Novak chasing him down. Boom, initiating in. Good transition and good angle from Rudy Hansen. Novak tucks in. And they are, again, we have some ideal conditions right now into that third outside zone. Hansen has ripped up, slingshots his way into that last outside zone. And man, he holds on to that. I thought he was going to find himself in the grass and outkick his coverage, but no, he holds on by the skin of his teeth. Well done.
Yeah, Rudy able to find just the last little bit of grip on outside zone 4. As you said, I thought we were going to be pulling him out of the leads there. First outside zone, gets on throttle a little bit late, leaves that zone a touch early and transitions on that, basically on that rumble strip there, and then starts to push out. And Nick Novak's got to pull that gap in a little bit closer in the transition into our last outside zone. That's where we thought Rudy Hansen was going to be looking for a tow truck, but able to get through the line. Doesn't really light the tires off. Now it is pretty slick through there, so it's, I don't think it's something where the judges are really going to be nitpicking in that section, but it will come into play, especially once this dries out, and hopefully, you know, for pro spec competition tomorrow, and definitely for pro competition on Saturday.
Did you say, I mean, equally, if he's Nick picking, he should be Rudy picking as well?
Yes, that would only be fair.
I mean, it works on both sides.
Yeah, you got to.
If you're Nick picking, you're Rudy picking as well. Just clarify.
Yeah.
Okay, because Nick is now up front.
Yes.
And we'll see if he's picking.
But
But the judges are picking a winner.
that's the plan.
And we will find out who it's going to be. Who's going to the finals? Is it Nick Novak or Rudy Hansen coming out? Let's see if we load that slingshot and he shoots forward in that first outside zone. Rudy Hansen does not partake. So talk about Nick picking. He is out there, but Rudy is not picking to go into that outside zone, 1 or 2, but he gets aggressive. Wow, Rudy Hansen. Oh, Rudy Tooty, fresh and fruity. IHOP just called, and he looks like he comes to a halt and rips across that finish line.
Yes, this is going to be interesting because Nick did have that same mistake once again in the lead on outside zone 3, where he gets into the wall, and it causes him to leave the zone a bit early, gets a bit of a bounce off the wall, and then we see the over-rotation of Rudy in the chase for outside zone 4. But we'll get back to that in just a second. Is Nick out front with that left foot brake, pushing out to keep that car nice and wide for the first outside zone. Second outside zone looking solid. Rudy now starts to try to make his approach, and then you can see that is where Nick has to make the correction. Rudy does a fairly decent job, and it puts him on a tighter line, and then Rudy just over-rotates, throws that back end in on Nick. So did Nick transition a bit late, causing that incident by Rudy? That's going to be what the judges are going to be looking at here, because it's a big cause and effect throughout this track. Every mistake you make somewhere else. So right there, Nick gets into that wall, pushes him out pretty early. Really tight line there, has to rotate, and gets on throttle, maybe a touch too late halfway through that zone. So judges will have to decide who takes fault in that incident, when that could be their decider through this battle. Judges got their decision in already, so they know. We'll find out here shortly.
Salt and pepper called. He pushed it real good. Rudy Hansen, Nick Novak, and Nick Novak gets 1 vote, 2 votes, and 3 votes. So Nick Novak comes out on top. He's going to the finals here in our seeding bracket. Rudy Hansen, we will see him on Saturday, or we'll see him tomorrow, cheering on his wife, Shelly Hansen, in pro spec competition.
And I believe that will mean that Rudy's going to take 3rd in the seeding bracket, as he's our #1 ranked. So for him, I mean, would love to be in the finals, but hey, 3rd, not so bad.
Not so bad. And this is, again, cutting his teeth, chopping it up, having some fun, and getting used to the scores.
Yeah.
More track time.
Yeah, and that's the biggest benefit here with seeding, is you're getting in more practice, and you're also getting it in at a time that competition is going to be happening later on. So you really can find out so much about what the track's going to be like. And for drivers that are in seeding who might be struggling a little bit more, this is that extra practice time. You're picking up points, you're picking up time, you're picking up practice, and hopefully what that means is you have a much better shot getting into top 32.
Nick Novak waits in the wings. Burkett and Shanahan. O'Reilly. Yes. O'Reilly? Yes, O'Reilly. Shanahan and Burkett waiting for them. I could see Dan Burkett waiting in the wings. Shanahan coming out of the darkness. It looks like we have a clear track. It's still a little wet there in the burnout box. You can see the reflection coming off. Okay.
So we're going to get them ready to go for this battle. So I'm curious if Jack threw another set of fresh tires on. Seems to be what he's aiming for with a lot of these.
This is good for him because we talk about, you know, going for that Rookie of the Year and him just getting more familiar with that car. This is a good opportunity, just more seat time.
Yeah, and it's a tricky car. From what I understand, to set up, it's very similar suspension-wise to the modern Supra, so which is another car that can be very difficult to kind of get locked in and sorted. So yeah, just various reasons. I mean,
what does Jack compete in Drift Pass?
In 86.
Okay.
Yeah, 2J86. This is a pretty good departure for him.
Yeah, it's a totally different. So
yeah.
That's just, you know, again, just driving two very different cars.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said too with the travel and everything else that goes along with it. That car, I mean, they were putting that car back together. The engine was out not that long ago. Oh. So he had a funny post. He goes, FD St. Louis is when again? And engine was out, but. I mean, these teams, they can pull an engine in a very short period of time now.
Shanahan Burkett, who is going against Novak in the finals. Which one's it going to be? And we got a clear start. Shanahan, we got drier conditions, not absolutely 100% bone dry, but Shanahan rips in that first outside zone. Yo, look at Dan Burkett. Absolutely just flinging that thing to the side. This looks like a final in Saturday's main event. Shanahan places that car properly in outside zone 3. Burkett has to hold up. You saw him just hold composure there, and it ended up not working. He was kind of preloading, loading, and then unleashed, came unwound. But I'll tell you what, that was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was super fun to watch, and hopefully this is a preview of what we're going to see either in the final battle here in seeding or what we're going to see throughout the rest of this weekend as this track now really drying up, except for maybe outside zone 4. Shanahan on that throttle early, does a good job for the first outside zone, but look at Dan really getting in there, pushing that pace. He gets caught out a little bit, gets caught kind of at a transition point, but does an amazing job to get back on the track without sacrificing a ton of line. And then even through this transition, Dan just tons of speed through it, whips that car around and not able to catch it. But I mean, it happens. It's great to see, though, that Dan's got this fighting spirit back in him, pushing the pace in the chase. Well, Shanahan out front, I'm looking to see, do we get any sort of indication that there's an e-brake? I am not seeing it, so I think he's still driving. Had an e-brake through it, and maybe Dan was looking for a different transition through it or a different slowdown, and then loops that car out. But we'll see once we swap around. This battle is by no means over, because anything can happen now once Dan's back out in the lead.
Jack Shanahan saying, look, Ma, no hands brake. Yeah. It just seems to be working out for him right now. This could be a new technique. No handbrake Shanahan.
Maybe.
Shannon no hands.
Shannon no hands.
That's what he does.
Yep.
Riding a unicycle. Just Shannon no hands.
Steering with the right foot. Yep. All throttle.
What's up? I brake with no bicycles. What's that? I can ride my right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So the great song. All right, Dan Burkett, but Shanahan now, it looks like regardless of the handbrake, he does not have the proximity. Dan Burkett in that second outside zone places the car properly. Shanahan now gains some ground. Burkett puts it into that outside zone 3. Shanahan bounces. He goes all over the place. But keep in mind, Burkett did have that mistake in that last outside zone. So, and this is a one more time battle. We are going to force a decision onto the judges. They, all joking aside, we do not allow them to go one more time. So kind of, take this battle. There are mistakes on either side. So forcing a selection between the drivers, and for sure we're going to see a side-by-side. Shanahan and Dan Burkett. Novak waits to see who he's going against.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting things with this, because Dan did have his mistake kind of going into outside zone 4, whereas Jack's mistake was outside zone 3. So it did happen a bit earlier. So if you start looking at like amount of zones that you can judge, there's a good chance that Jack has less of those just because of where his mistake was. But let's take a look at this.
How about lead versus lead too, though?
Yeah, and that's the other part with this, is that's assuming you have a very comparable lead between these two drivers, which really, Dan, great job there, keeping that momentum going into the second outside zone. And really, without that handbrake, Jack's got to be a bit more hesitant. And even on his initiation, things look weird, but just not able to extend that out. That's a spot where the handbrake could be kind of used to float that car out, even though judges really not wanting you to be using the handbrake in there. But yeah, just a crazy set of circumstances there for both these drivers. And we'll see what the judges think as think we're going to end up getting a side-by-side replay.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I mean, really, you want to take a look at the leads and compare those two between these two drivers.
You know who also wants this? Adam Jabay.
Yeah.
Adam Jabay wants to see side by side, and he wants a sweet slice of meatloaf.
Oh, dang. Yeah. I mean, hey, next time I see him, I'll do my best. But
That's your nickname, meatloaf.
oh, sweet. Okay, I'll take it. I mean, I'd do anything for drifting. So, as we look at the leads, they are very, very similar. It really, it's tough to say who's got the advantage there. It may end up coming down to where that mistake is. So
That I don't mind that it forces the judges to not just easily say, okay, let's dismiss it and go one more time. I agree with this kind of forcing of a decision.
yeah, it's might take an extra replay here or there, but really it's gonna move things along and get us through the rest of it. So pretty look at I mean, Jack is same thing, hoping for that e-brake, having to use a feint. Just the car really whips out and kind of gets a bit more rotation than what he was hoping for, putting him on an awkward line, and then misses basically half of the third outside zone, and that's kind of all she wrote for him there. So that to me is the big differential, because the leads look pretty similar, is that Jack actually completed less of the run. And that's how I might be making a decision, but judges know way more than I do, so they might have a different take on this.
Lead versus lead, chase versus chase. So
really,
in that, no, I'm just saying in that instance, chase versus chase, one went further than the other. It's like American Ninja Warrior. Did he make it to the warped wall or did he not?
The warped wall.
You know?
Yeah.
The salmon ladder.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that Brian still thinks that he could take.
Egger thinks he could do.
Oh no, that was not
Robbie?
No. What's the old?
Human Herman.
No. American Gladiators.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely.
That was the one. Yeah.
I could dodge that tennis ball cannon.
Okay. So
Laser's got nothing on me. How about Malibu? Never heard of her.
So really what the judges are looking at now, what we're hearing is contact at the end. And I don't think there was any actual contact through that section. Maybe I'm missing something, but I didn't see any. But judges really want to take a look at all this to understand, more or less. They want to make sure they're looking at all of it. So I think Reese already put his headset on. He's ready to defend his answer here. He's going to war for the judges.
Defending, like it's as if he's.
I would like an explanation either way, personally, and if I'm asking for it, maybe somebody else is.
Dan Burkett gets the victory, and Burkett is unanimous. So Reese, going down to you, is unanimous.
Yeah, so what we ended up seeing here is that when we were going into outside zone 1, they were both shallow going into outside zone. And no, first of all, let me just say, since they both had errors and they had incompletes in the chase, we're judging off of lead to lead. So going into outside zone 1, you can see that both of them are comparable in being a little shallow into outside zone 1. We're going into outside zone 2, which we feel is the definitive moment. We feel like Dan in the lead does a better job filling out outside zone 2. All right, so that stands out for him. Going into outside zone 3, we feel like they do a similar job in the lead in outside zone 3. Going into outside zone 4, you're going to see they're going to do a similar job there. So what stands out is outside zone 2, where Shanahan actually comes out of the zone a little bit earlier than Rad Dan that stays in the zone longer. All right, now the chases have nothing to do with this battle right now because they both incompleted, so we have to judge off of the lead. So when we do that slight little bit of Rad Dan staying in outside zone 2 is what gave him the win.
Got it. So because they're incompletes, it doesn't matter how far they made it through those runs, they're just gone.
Right.
And we look at those leads, and really, outside zone 2, probably 2 or 3 foot difference of how deep they were in that zone.
Right. I mean, props to Shanahan for doing what he was doing without a handbrake and everything, but in that case, Rad Dan gets the win.
Thank you so much for Reese Marin elaborating on that. So we have our finals are set here in our pro seating brackets. Nick Novak and Rad Dan Burkett.
Tell people.
I mean, remember you were there. Set and ready to go. So we have the finals.
Yeah.
And we are getting settled, and again, it's we've been a little lighthearted, admittedly, between all the drivers our seating brackets, knowing that everybody that is here in the building or entering the seating bracket will be going
like
to the
this,
main event.
you know,
So
I mean, the rank
the point accumulation is here, and all joking aside, we're having a lot of fun, but it just seems a little casual. It seems necessary because of the lackluster conditions, and now we're seeing ideal conditions. But all joking aside, I think this track, the way it's shaping up, and when it dries out, it's going to make for some really good tandem battles.
Yeah, this is such a great preview of what's to come this weekend, and seating really sets us up for that. But let's take a look.
Here we go. Send it, baby. Rad Dan Burkett, Rad Industries. Looks like he has really risen to the occasion. As you said it, you really give him a lot of confidence there. Jacob Gettens coming to the second outside zone. Here comes Nick Novak to the side of that Supra. He has to dive back, and now Dan Burkett brings it into that third outside zone, approaching the final. Let's see how he manages, and slides it on in. Hits it, quits it, gets back out. So like to see him a little bit deeper there, just showing him the commitment, not so much the placement of the car, but I like that overall. Good. Again, Dan Burkett is showing a great sign that this car could fare well for him.
Yeah, just really sorted on this. So first outside zone looks good, nice and stable. Adds even a bit more angle coming out of that zone. Gets that car rotated for the second outside zone, and maybe a touch shallow through there, but that pushes out nice and wide for third. Gets that additional angle to try and fill out as much of that zone as he possibly can with Nick Novak in tow, and then Rad Dan just a touch shallow through the fourth outside zone, but Nick in the chase doing a great job of adapting all the way through. He is mirroring the line through so much of this track. He does a good job of mirroring the angle as well, and Rad Dan just figuring it out, getting the pace sorted. A couple of zones we'd like to see him a bit deeper, but outside of that, he's got the speed, he's got the consistency with it as well. There's nothing strange kind of happening with the car or his driving. It's just really planted. Where he's pointing the car is where it's going, and it's just really great to see.
Let's see if we're gonna get a winner here. Nick Novak leading, Dan Burkett giving him chase. This is all about seeding, so these gentlemen are in the finals. You can see the lights on. Once they extinguish, they will send it here for the final time this evening. Tomorrow is all about pro spec, but right now, our pro seeding brackets, Novak would like to get this victory, but Dan Burkett getting a lot of confidence on this track, coming into that second outside zone. You can see the car really just ready to get out of the stable, and throws it to the side of the BMW. Here's Nick Novak, and look at Dan just barely letting it pass, but it just applies too much pressure. What I was gonna say there is, like, I don't know why he is just being that aggressive. Like, could have backed off just a little bit, but this is timing. This is just practice. I would have to think essentially for him.
Well, you get that momentum going, you get that confidence going, the adrenaline, and you really want to push it. And Nick really invites that throughout this run, because look at this, you know, good initiation there from Nick. Fills that first outside zone really well, adds a bit more angle, and even Dan here, you can see him just trying to figure out when his best time to dive is. I like the way that Dan's able to kind of tuck back into it, and then Dan's on such a shallow line through this and tries to time it, but comes out on the wrong side of the transition, and when he tries to back that car in, unfortunately Nick is a little bit further back than where he would want him to be in order to fall back into the pocket. So Dan, just because of that shallower line coming off of 3, doesn't set him up for success through that transition, and then does an amazing job to get through the rest of it. So yeah, I mean, great job from both these drivers. Dan just timing not perfect on that run, and unfortunately puts him on the wrong side of the transition.
If you can dodge a Supra, you can dodge a ball. That's what I say.
Yeah, well, I've dodged Supras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Long story.
Okay.
I'll send you pictures after.
Okay, fine. Okay, yeah. I'm wildly inquisitive.
Yeah, no, I'll show you, man.
All right, so we can see the Supra, the BMW, and now they are joined by the S13 of Rudy Hansen. And I would have to assume we have a verdict after Rad Dan gets aggressive, but we will find out and make it official. So our pro seeding bracket looks like it has concluded, and the action tomorrow continues with our all right, so stepping outside of the car, make some noise for him. Third place here in seeding brackets, Rudy Hansen. Yes, sir. Rudy Hansen, looking good, looking dialed. Again, a busy man here this weekend. And you can see it looks like Dan Burkett coming to the side of the BMW. But these gentlemen drove when the conditions got drier. They drove faster, more aggressive. Looks like Dan Burkett checking out the front end of his vehicle, jumping outside of his vehicle. And we have a winner. It is unanimous. We saw that contact. And there's Shelly down there. Mrs. Hansen. The mullet looking like a rat in a rainstorm. And just throwing it back. But, all right. All right, taking off the gloves, helping him out, getting some assistance. Sir, can we keep it up front for you? Make some noise for him. Nick Novak stepping outside of the car. And now your winner here of Pros Seating Brackets, round 5. Your winner unanimously. Some good battles, a tease, and a shape of things to come on Saturday and going into Saturday night. Your winner here in Seating Bracket, Mr. Nick Novak gets the win. Nick Novak gets the win. Rad Dan Burkett, just a little too aggressive. He gets second. So there is your 1, 2, and 3. Some great driving there in your seating bracket. Taking a look. So, you know, Reese just said, he says, yep, just too aggressive. It was unanimous. So an easy verdict there for our judges. Congratulations to Novak. Again, a vote of confidence, getting more practice for all of our drivers. But your thoughts here on seating bracket. We started out, it was wet, it was slidey,
yeah,
less than ideal.
Just a great preview of what the rest of this weekend's going to look like, and that's what seating is. And hey, talking about preview, here we go, top 32. Look at the way that this lines up. There's already some great battles that are going to be in here. Somewhere we're already pre-established, like a Tommy Lemaire, Brandon Sorensen. But then we start to see a few more rack up. Rome Sharpen's here, Dan Burkett. That one's going to be super, super interesting. So yeah, it's a great one. I mean, yeah, Hobson taking on Osbo. That's a full confidence battle there. You know you can drive hard against a Frederick Osbo. So Ben Hobson hopefully can take advantage of that. But yeah, lots of great battles already.
Yeah, our points leader going against Ben Hobson, and that, you know, we had 11 drivers advancing on. We were to backfill with 12. So Adam LZ gets the fast pass in 32, going into 16. So the forecast is saying it's going to have some great weather. So come on out, join us out here. And join us 3 o'clock tomorrow for Pro Spec competition. Check the schedule. Go to formuladee.com. Place your bets. Do your things. See you at the crossroads. Lazy Bone, Crazy Bone, all the bones are going to be here. Bone Thugs and Harmony, the crossroads. This is tomorrow, round 3 of the Link Engine Management Pro Spec Championship, and Saturday, round 5 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. On behalf of Jacob Gettins, Matt Sopa earlier today with Pro Spec, and our judges, thank you to Vernon, Brian, Reese Marin, and Robin Ishida. Sorry we didn't have time for you, but tomorrow hopefully we'll have some time to talk to you. But Robin Bishida, Blade Ishida, I believe he cut himself. He's now lost a finger or something, but we'll take care of him. We'll be back. We'll see you tomorrow here at Worldwide Technology Raceway Park.